January 12th, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using the NinjaTrader 8 platform. This is how I saw the charts today. There was one piece of economic data that came out at around 5:30 Pacific Standard, which is about right here. We see this really big spike. It was the core PPI, Producer Price Index, that came out. Yesterday was the CPI, and if you remember from yesterday, it's about right here where it kind of had this big flush. So today it kind of had a opposite reaction where it bounced up. And so overall, I saw one big leg up and then kind of a sell-off. So it kind of looks like a big A frame, but it also went into kind of a range. I took a total of one trade today, but there were a few trades I missed out on. Now today was a little bit difficult for me to trade because there was a block of time where I had to step away from my desk, and then another block of time where I was kind of going to my desk, helping around the house, doing something where I wasn't quite 100% focused. So I'm going to get into the trades right now. In the pre-market, it looked like things were going to be in a range until it started to break out. So I found this red channel pretty early, but I was trying to include it into my overall range. So it was looking something like this at one time, either here and here. And it eventually settled on here, and I just treated this as a breakout or an overshoot, but it fit pretty nicely here. So then prices started moving up. Now keep in mind, I didn't find this red channel immediately. I found it a little bit later. And I'll kind of point out when I did find it and settle on it. So prices move up on this green channel. It breaks out, consolidates right at the open. So on the open, I'm a little more cautious because there is a few candles that are printed all in the first minute. So I don't tend to really trust first or second entries unless, previous data has been telling me it's a fantastic setup. And in this condition, it's not quite that fantastic. EMA is kind of far away. It already reached the top and it's consolidating. So I'm just a little more careful not to pull the trigger too soon. You do have a first entry short here, and potentially a second entry short, but this is a doji. This candle is their signal bar, but it is, in my opinion, very dangerous to go short when you're so far up already. Nothing has told you that the uptrend has played out because it is making higher lows and higher highs. So something you definitely have to skip. It looked like it would have worked if you took the second entry short, but it's just barely enough for a quick scalp. Prices then continue moving up. Right now, the EMA is being respected. It kind of falls into this orange channel, and originally I thought the channel was something like this, as I said, and I kind of tried to include it, but it didn't fit too well. And I was playing with the idea that maybe I'll just start taking it from here. And so it was kind of this way with an overshoot, not an overshoot, but a breakout up here. So that was what the green channel was what I was playing with at the time. And then later I just had to accept that there was potentially a overshoot or undershoot, however you want to count it, or just a breakout of this red channel. So then prices consolidate in this blue range. Just go ahead and just adjust it. I don't see any clean entries that I like. It is very, very tight trading right now. Kind of makes these triple highs. There's a triple test up here, but to go short feels very risky because it'd be counter trend. You're already pushing at the highs. Yes, it could come back down, but you need more confirmation, especially when you're above the EMA. And the EMA is getting to, creating these higher lows every time. So it's kind of crushing the price action. Then it breaks out. It falls down on this yellow channel, and unfortunately, I don't see a good clean entry. You do have a new high here, first entry long, pull back, second entry long. So when you see the second entry long, right here, I'm not thinking long at all, but I'm also not thinking short. I'm just thinking just wait because you really don't know. It looks like it creates the first entry long, second entry long, and here it fails. But again, I was just very reluctant because the lows are right here. You really don't know if this range is slightly lower or if there's going to be a failed breakout and push back in. So then prices start moving down. I think is falling in this yellow channel, but then there's this huge breakout. So all I could do was try to find another channel, which I tried to draw as this green one. When conditions happen like this, where there's these piecemeal channels, you could either draw it really large like this and try to capture this all, but then it feels really odd because there's so much space down here. Or in my case, I just treated it as these little piecemeal channels coming down. So right now it's just first entry short, second entry short. This is a pretty good signal bar for second entry short, but there's no other piece of information to give you. And you could be bottoming here. Nothing to say that this couldn't bounce off. So when you see this, even though you're thinking second entry short and it confirms, it just feels like risky. How do you know this has been played out? Plus, it had the green channel breakout and it did reach the new low. Prices then continue moving. It starts trending up on this orange channel, what I think is an orange channel. Not what I think is an orange channel, what I think is an actual channel. And it breaks out again. So I was thinking maybe there's an overlap, but I treated it more as this orange channel with an overshoot. And it breaks to the other side and it starts going down. So this price action isn't the most clean at the moment. There is these big trends and swings. Unfortunately, since the open, I didn't mean to do that. Since the open, I couldn't find any good, clean, well, in my opinion, safe entries, at least safe from my perspective, from my experience as well. I just had to wait and watch. I do see this though. I see the new low here. First entry short pullback, second entry short. So here you're not thinking short yet. Here you have a confirmed second entry short. This is what I call an almost setup. It's really good that it's an engulfing bar. So it didn't break above, but it opened, and as you can see, it tried to break above here. So it looks like the bulls lost out, and then it flushed it all the way down. But the thing is, I did have this as a trend line, but not necessarily a channel just yet. So what happens is when it hit this and it rejected, I like the looks of that, but I don't like the fact that technically this is your signal bar, and if this is your trigger bar, in order for me to feel confident there's going to be more push down, I needed this not to have pulled back all the way back to here. So it created this matching bottom where the close and the open were right the same. I needed this to close at least below this open, or ideally at the very low. Then I knew there's still momentum pushing it down. What it's telling me is buyers came in, sellers came in, sellers overwhelmed the buyers, pushed it down to this low, and for whatever reason, they lost power and buyers were able to push it back up here. So even though you have first entry short, second entry short, I didn't discount the fact that this could just be one ugly leg up, pull back, and then this next candle would push up again. So I wasn't sure, so I had to leave it alone because it's a little ambiguous. It could be seen as one, like first entry short, not first entry, second entry. Looks like it would have worked though. So when it flushes down, it breaks this and creates this overshoot. I saw this break of the screen channel. It creates this first entry short. And here, I'm thinking it could be some kind of repeat pattern similar to this. So could there possibly be a second entry short? So now it flushes down. So you have a repeat pattern, but this one's a little more distinct. You have first entry short, second entry short. I'm thinking this is kind of an almost setup as well, because this overshoot, I'm expecting maybe another slight overshoot on this side, but this is a fourth rejection by this trend line, and which I created into a trend channel at this point. So at this point, this became the trend line, became a real channel. And I like that it was rejecting a fourth time. EMA is keeping prices down. But the thing is, the signal bar, which was this guy, wasn't that good. And when the trigger bar closed, I wasn't confident that I would be able, I mean, I was a little gun shy today, thinking like maybe I just missed this trade. I should leave it alone. And I was thinking maybe this one push down, second push down, maybe it wants to test the low of this. So that has that going for it. But excuse me. I also noticed that it made one measure move down. I have a larger tick chart going on. I have a 5,000 tick chart above. And I saw this one leg pull back, second leg, and it completed it. So it made the measure move. I mean, it's a little bit shy, but now it could have played out. It could be bouncing back up. Keep in mind, though, that the overall trend right now is bearish. So it was just a few conflicting things. I wasn't 100% sure. I wanted a higher low or a lower high to form right here to make me feel more confident taking the trade. And you don't get their lower high and it just kind of flashes up, falls into this. And this is where I think there's a reasonably good setup, possible trade. But unfortunately, I caught this much later because I stepped away from my desk. And it was the new high here. It's a first entry long pullback. About to create a second entry long. Here creates a second entry long. And I like this because the signal bar, which is this guy, closed above the EMA, went one push up, pull back. It looked like it trapped some people by ticking lower, then flushing back up, because I could see this as visual first entry short pullback, second entry short, and in real time, you might think this is a higher low and prices are going to come back down to test this yellow channel. But the way I saw it was it might start reversing because I also drew this orange channel, thinking there's some kind of support here. It might have enough momentum to push up, and you do have enough room before you come into any concern about a potential resistance up here. So I left it alone. This confirms it. Now I felt like, okay, well, the best I can wait for or hope for is a higher low. The higher low shows up. Now this one kind of spooked me, but I think this is also a possible trade. It's not as good as this one. I think this trade I would have considered taking because I would have seen this, and then when this happened, I think I would have put my entry right here, the highs, and it would have filled me here. So I would have been in the trade, I would like to think. But if I didn't, and I saw this afterwards, this makes me a little hesitant. It's a really good signal bar, but there is less room now from here to here. I think it's only about 5 ticks. So it's only 5 ticks, and even if you're going for 1 point scalp, you have to be pretty confident it's going to tick all the way up here, test the highs. So it's something I just wanted to avoid, so I just kind of left it alone. It looks like it would have worked. Of course, you don't know that in real time. Then prices connect and start flushing back, breaking through the orange channel. Creates technically a new high here. It's a first entry long, pull back. You create your second entry long here. Second entry long is confirmed. It's pretty good, except it's below the EMA. EMA is starting to flatten, but the overall bias of the market is bearish. So it pushes up, it flashes up, and this makes me a little bit cautious because first entry long, second entry long, there's no signal bar. The signal bar here is pretty bad, so I wouldn't have thought of going long. After the trigger bar close, I'm a little hesitant to go long too, because there's just barely enough room for a scalp here. So it flashes up, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, first entry long, second entry long. This second entry long could be about to fail because you see this push up, second push up. Not only is the second entry long about to fail, it broke out of this green channel, and it looked like it might be going back down to test down here. So I'm just wondering what the next candle is going to show. Next candle flushes down, so it's actually first entry short, second entry short. This, if I was faster in my processing, I might have considered taking a trade because this is a strong push through the EMA. It's a good strong close, but I think I waited too long and it flashes down. So here, definitely the trade is too late, and it is testing the lows again. So you had to let it go. And then prices break up. It creates what I think is a triple test because it went back up, touched it 3 times. Not necessarily a trading range yet. So I saw this as first entry short, potential second entry short. Here, the second entry short's confirmed. You have a triple test, but it was this break of this green channel. It already went up and tested the high. So I'm thinking the uptrend on this green channel is played out. This is coming in as resistance, so the prices might be pushing back down. Since I'm not quite in a range, I was wondering if the EMA was going to act as some kind of factor, as some kind of resistance point. But once the signal bar closed and then this trigger bar closed here, there's maybe a trade here. So let's say I did take the trade. I think I would have been a little conservative. I might have probably put it not necessarily above the EMA, but 1 tick below here. I think I would have probably put it roughly right here, maybe 1 tick below this guy. And I don't know that I would have gotten filled. And prices went down. It flashes down some more. Here, I'm starting to wonder if there's some kind of trend line here, not necessarily the top one because you don't have anything at the top, but you do definitely have something touching. So I think there's some kind of support, but overall bias is bearish. So I'm just watching. Oh, I want to correct myself. I came back and looked at this after the fact because I was kind of getting up and back from my desk back and forth. So I was watching this in piecemeal. Definitely not a good way to trade. Prices then continue moving. You have a new low, first entry short, second entry short. This isn't a good signal bar to go short. It's above the EMA. It's too bullish in my opinion. Prices then continue moving up. It falls into this green channel. And I noticed all day that things were fitting relatively nicely, except for this one, in this section, relatively nicely in these well-obeyed channels, which makes reading the price action a little bit easier for someone like me. And prices, it has an overshoot, creates a first entry long, and that's all you get. Comes around, it's still just first entry long. Technically, have a new low, first entry short, second entry short right here. But this is a really good signal bar, but it's a little ambiguous because you have an overshoot here, matching overshoot. Here, is it going to bounce off the EMA and come back up and test the highs? You really don't know. This wasn't helpful at all because when the trigger bar closed, you could tell it wasn't powerful enough to break through the EMA. And I was thinking there was a trading range, but it's kind of the middle of the range. So it's unclear to me which way it's going to go. And as you can see, it flashes down, but I just had to let that go because I didn't see it or I didn't read it. Then prices then consolidate. And here, I was thinking, there were these setups here, this possible trade here, possible trade here. I was thinking, next time I see something that looks halfway decent, maybe I should take it. That's not the best way to go. It shouldn't be halfway decent. It should be fully decent. And when I saw this consolidating, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to play the range rules. If it gets back to the bottom, I'm going to take it because it might bounce right back to the top. It's obeying it pretty nicely here. It flashes down. It has a failed breakout. It pushes right back in. When I saw this, I thought there's enough momentum since it closed the high. And the way it closed, it was very clean, very solid. I thought there was enough momentum to get a quick little scalp out before I hit the top. Even though the EMA was coming into play, I looked at it and I said there's enough room for a 1 point scalp. So when I waited for the signal bar to confirm the failed breakout, so it does confirm, and I finally entered one tick above here. So when this closed, I said, okay, it's not the best candle, but it is very bullish. So I entered one tick above. I got filled. It spooked me by flashing down, did a bunch of movement, and it finally closed a little bit low. So I thought I was going to get stopped out, but I thought there's a failed breakout. There's still enough room to push to the EMA. And this next candle flashes up, and I was able to get out. Price then continued moving. Here, my purple trend channel coming down, I drew a matching one up here and then just created it into a channel. I said, okay, there's one touch, two touch, three touch. It's a pretty good channel. One touch, two touch, three touch helps add more backup to it being a clean channel. So it's now chopping. I saw this visual first entry long, second entry long, but I didn't like the signal bar. It's too neutral. It's kind of, it doesn't look like the cleanest setup. It chops around and it starts breaking out and it starts moving in the direction of, breaking out of the purple channel. So it's a new high, first entry long, pullback, second entry long. But this is a very good convincing signal bar. It needed to at least come down to the EMA or touch and bounce off of this thing here because it already bounced and rejected off the top of the screen channel. So you're thinking it's going to come down, which it did, push back up here, but it didn't quite make it. So this could be the second attempt, but I just didn't really like the setup, just for those reasons. And again, you have a new high, first entry long, second entry long, but this is also a really bad signal bar. Once the trigger bar closed, confirming your second entry long is too late for the trade. Prices then move. You only got a first entry long here, another first entry long. Here, I'm definitely not thinking of going short. And so when it comes up, flashes, and hits down, it creates this new low, creates a first entry short, second entry short. This is what I also call an almost setup. So it's after the break of this green channel, made one attempt up, and I'm thinking it could make another attempt up because this could be just one leg, even though right here is a very, very tight, tiny first entry short, pullback, second entry short. I don't like that these two candles are dojis. It leaves me wondering if this is just one push down, pullback, and then it's creating a second push down. So definitely here, I'm thinking maybe short. Here, I don't like that the signal bar, because this is technically the signal bar of the first entry short, and then this is the signal bar of the second entry short, but you can tell it didn't have enough power to break down here. So here, when it finally breaks down and confirms the second entry short, I was questioning if there's enough momentum and oomph to come back down to get out before it hit potentially there was this support point, especially when you just came from this big green push up that respected the EMA so much. So I was thinking, there's still bullish momentum possible. So it definitely had to skip that trade. Comes back down, creates a higher low here, but it feels really far away. And it creates another second entry short here. So what I saw here is a new low. So first entry short pullback. Here it creates a second entry short, but I don't know that I would have been able to take this trade at all because the signal bar just wasn't good. This is what I call an almost setup. It's rejection by the EMA. It broke out of this yellow channel, so you're thinking it's going to come back down and test the lows. But I don't like this type of break because it's not a clean bullish break up. It was a break due to time. It went sideways and broke out of the channel by working in this range and breaking out in the horizontal time frame as opposed to breaking out and coming back down. So these type of breaks I'm a little more cautious of because I'm not that experienced with. But I also saw there was a triple test. It looked like it tried to go up, failed here, failed the second time, failed the third time. So this is potentially a triple test. But when this flashed down like this, I don't feel there's enough room to get out before I hit the low of this range that I was playing. Then here definitely confirms a second entry short, flashes down, but here definitely, waiting for this to close, it really felt like it was too late for the trade. And if I was even considering the trade, I would have been like super conservative, maybe put it up here a few ticks back, and here would have flashed up, maybe filled you depending on where you put it, and then continue downwards. But it did feel a little sketchy, so I was call this an almost setup. Then prices continue moving down. It hits a new low. The first entry short here, actually right here, second entry short here, but there's no good clean setup. It's a failed second entry short, but this just looks a little bit unclear to me. Prices then kind of move up in the screen channel. You don't really have any good clean setups after that. It kind of moves into the close. So it was the price action was a little surprisingly a little cleaner today, in my opinion, because it followed into these channels pretty nicely. I missed these asterisk trades, which I would consider possible trades I should have taken, but it was between the block of around 7:30-ish to about 8:30. I was away from my desk off and on, and then from about I think right here to right here, which I'm glad there was no real entries that I could find, I was also kind of off and on. So kind of how I saw the charts today. Took one trade. It was good. It's a good way to end the Friday, especially after the terrible trading I had yesterday where I only won one and lost two. This win for one is a slow little crawl back. So hopefully that was helpful.